Hey guys, it's HaloHunter553. Welcome back to another Beyblade X unboxing. Today we're opening up another one of the Hasbro CX releases, that being Courage Dran. So here's the packaging for it. Courage Dran S 660V, attack type, CX. Still love how the packaging looks on this. You've got a nice open window with the blade holders assembled. On the back, just tells you about the parts. Courage Dran S, so you got the Dran lock chip, the Courage primary blade, and it says, if I get the camera in, strong downward force, and the auxiliary blade is S or slash for low center of gravity. For the ratchet, we got 660, and for the bit, we have V, otherwise known as Vortex. So, pretty cool. So let's get into this. So of course we do have the launcher, since this is a starter pack. Here is the bit and the ratchet. And now we have the main blade itself. Alright, so I'm gonna get all laid out on the table, and we'll go into it in more detail. Alright, so here is Courage Dran all opened up for you. So first off, we have the lock chip. Really nice lock chip design here. And it's the same lock chip we've gotten before in the past, just cosmetically different. Still, pretty nice lock chip. I like that a lot. Next up, we have the Courage primary blade. Pretty nice. Now, of course, the shaping of this is very similar to Dran sword, but it does have a bit more of a slimmer profile. Now, unfortunately, this does lead to a bit of a trade-off when it's with certain auxiliary blades, that the blades here don't make as much contact as you would want, and so this blade doesn't really hit as hard as you would like. Now, granted, with Jaggy and I think Charge as well, this has been performing quite a bit better. But I will say with the included assist blade, probably not as much. Still, pretty cool. Next up, we have the slash auxiliary blade or assist blade. So you, in a similar parallel to the primary blade, you do have some bigger blades on this one, but they don't really help at all. In fact, they do tend to block the main contact points on the Courage blade. So again, you might want to swap it. If you're going to be using this blade, you might want to swap to a different auxiliary blade. But this is still a pretty nice part, though. It does work with certain primary blades so far. I think it might actually work well with Fox Brush. But still, nice to have. There's the QR code that you can scan into the Hasbro Beyblade X app. So, pretty cool. Next up, we have 660. Now, this is a really nice part to have here. So, 660, as you can see, it has 6 sides, and it's at that 60 height. But it is actually a bit of an more of an unbalanced ratchet. You might notice that on one side here, there's actually a bit more of a nub compared to this side. So this actually does cause this ratchet to lean more one way. So this is a pretty good ratchet to really get some really nice upper attacks. And the burst resistance on it is pretty decent. It does tend to burst more than, say, 360. But still, it's a decent ratchet and has been seeing some pretty good success so far. Finally, for the bit, we have V, otherwise known as Vortex. So, shaping-wise, it is similar to Cyclone, but it does perform quite a bit differently. So, if you are going to be using this with, say, Dragoon, Cobalt Dragoon, or Storm Dragoon, or even Lightning or Drago, the performance of this will actually differ a little bit. But this is actually a bit I've noticed actually really performs quite drastically different depending on how heavy your bay is. Because if it's like a lighter base, say maybe around the 34, 35 gram weights, it does perform pretty much like Cyclone. So it's actually pretty quick on the extreme lines. However, if it's a much heavier bay, say getting close to maybe 37, 38 grams, it actually tends to be a lot slower and honestly does drain the stamina more. So this is definitely a bit that really depends on how heavy your bay is for its performance, which is pretty interesting. Now, it is a decent bit, but I would say, honestly, you're better off using Rush or even Cyclone over this bit. But still, it's a decent bit. Alright, let's now weigh everything up. So the Vortex bit, this weighs 2.16 grams. The 660 ratchet, this weighs 6.29 grams. The Slash auxiliary blade, this weighs 4.97 grams. The Courage primary blade, this weighs 31 grams exactly. That's pretty good. And then the Lock chip weighs 1.78 grams. So, of course, we'll get the bay all together. So again, you want to line this all up like so. And then you take the lock chip like so. Then, of course, just keep your finger on this, take the bit, and then twist until it clicks into place. Or you can just use your fingers. So there's Courage Dran all put together. So altogether, this bay weighs 37.69 grams. So pretty heavy weight here. Now, of course, keep in mind your mileage may vary. There will probably be some bit lighter, some heavier, and of course, depending on your assist blade as well. So let's put the whole combo together. So we'll put together the 660, and then the bit. So there's the full combo. Really nice. And then all together, this weighs 46.11 grams. So it is in the same ballpark as the other CX bays that has been released so far, weight-wise. Alright, so now we're going to do some test battles with Courage Dran in the Hasbro Stadium. So first up, Courage Dran is going to stick with its stock combo, and it's going to be going up against Wizard Arc on 660 level. Alright, next up, Courage Dran is going to be going up against Phoenix Wing on 960 Rush. Alright, next up, Courage Dran is going to be going up against Wizard Rod on 160 Wedge. Alright, last up, Courage Dran is going to be going up against one of my favorites, Hover Wyvern on 360 Hexa. So that is it for my look at Courage Dran. I will say this is definitely a bit of a mixed release, at least in my opinion. Now, if you're judging it by the stock combo on its own, it's not the best. The slash assist blade tends to really not allow Courage Dran to really get the hits it needs. If you are going to be using this blade, definitely recommend using Charge or Jaggy. They seem to help really this blade a bit better. The slash assist blade is decent, but just not with this blade. The 660 ratchet is pretty good. It does allow Courage Dran, or really any other base, to get onto an angle to get a really nice upper attack. The Vortex bit, as you can see, the stamina on this is not great, especially considering Courage Dran's weight. So, I would say if you are going to be using this as an attack type, you're better off using something like Rush, Low Rush, or even Cyclone. But I will say, I would still recommend picking it up for the parts. Plus, of course, the whole purpose of the CX line is you would want to mix and match the primary blades and the assist blades anyway. And I will say there's still a lot of discussion about CX, saying that it's garbage, it's worthless. In my opinion, it's still too early to tell. We only have 5 CX bays available at the moment, with 6 assist blades as well. So that is still pretty limiting to see how CX will go. It does limit the amount of combinations you can do. Of course, once we get more and more CX, we'll definitely be able to have a lot more combinations, and we'll be able to have a better idea of the viability of CX. And we already are seeing some really good results. I mean, Wizard Arc is seeing some pretty decent performance. Foxbrush is starting to see some use, and even the Reaper Blade, Reaper Incendiary is seeing some really nice use as well. But I can still recommend picking up Courage Dran if you see it in store. But just on its own, maybe not use it as a stock combo. Definitely swap out the parts. So, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for more Beyblade X unboxings, and I'll see you all in the next video.